The invitation is simply to move at the speed of safety, to notice where your body already feels a little more space, a little more breath, and start there. Because the voice doesn't return through pressure, it returns through permission, and when the body feels safe enough, it already knows how to speak.
Namaste. A warm welcome to episode number 6 of Vibrations of Vitality Conversations. My name is Dr-Deb, and I am the founder of Vitality Wisdom Hub, a platform of holistic health and wellness. And as you have been seeing, my dear listeners and viewers, that this series is about hosting a set of elite speakers who have been aligned with the similar service to our communities of holistic health and wellness in different modalities, right? Starting from, we talked about emotional eating, then we have had financial decisions, how it showcases our internal tapestry, our inner tapestry. Then we had art therapy, how it can be a healing tool, and so on and so forth. Now, today's session is very special in the sense you will be able to identify with it, especially our women in the society, especially in India and around the world. Because today we will be talking about silence. Well, silence not as a form of meditation, but silence as a survival strategy. How the body remembers what the voice couldn't say. Meaning, when people accept silence as a mode of safety and they are not expressing, what happens? What are its repercussions? How do they evolve as the time progresses? And what can one do to come out of that loop? So here, silence is not so much so as when you go in the bliss of solitude, that kind of silence, right? So very important topic. So please stay tuned until the very end. And today our guest speaker, who is doing this important work to serve our community, and she has been living in India for almost 2 decades now and has been doing important and so powerful work here in this country. So I'm really honored and pleased and very joyful to have this guest today on our platform. So as we know that we will get started with this discussion with an arriving in the space grounding ritual. So please situate yourself wherever you are. If you are sitting on a chair, plant your feet on the floor and have your palms. You can have your tips of your fingers, index fingers touching the tips of your thumbs. The other 3 fingers you can have extended like we are in a yoga mudra. And then you can keep your palms like this on top of your thighs, palms facing the ceiling, okay? Relax your shoulders, relax your belly. After this arriving grounding ritual, we will introduce our speaker and bring them on the platform. So, noticing your breath, just directly bring your attention to your breath. No need to change anything for now. Observe your breath. Acknowledge all your thoughts that are arising at the moment and say thank you for sharing. TYFS, the 4 magic words, because they are here and you acknowledge them and you say, I will attend to you later. Gradually deepen your breath. So deep, long, smooth inhalation, and your belly can go out as you inhale. So inhale up, belly goes out, all the way up, pause at the peak, and exhale, deep, slow, deliberate exhale. Belly comes towards the spine. Again, inhale deep, long, smooth, all the way up. Belly goes out. Pause at the peak. Exhale, deep, long, deliberate exhale. Belly comes towards the spine, deflating the belly. Last time, inhale deep, long, smooth. All the way up. Belly comes towards the spine, deflating it as you exhale. Now, in the next 3 exhalations, we will chant 3 ohms. Inhale all the way up. Pause at the peak. Exhale. Again, inhale all the way up. Exhale. Last time, inhale all the way up. Now you can gently release the mudra, bring your palms together and rub them. Create some self-healing heat. Cup your eyes. Gently tap on your face. And as you are ready, you can gently open your eyes. Welcome to episode number 6 of Vibrations of Vitality Conversations. And today, for this discussion, important discussion of silence as a survival strategy, how the body remembers what the voice couldn't say. I am honored and pleased to have my dear friend and colleague, Eva Camarasa, as our guest speaker. Eva Camarasa is the founder of Soul Speak Truth community and the creator of the Phoenix Voice Method, a gentle yet powerful approach that supports people in healing the wounds of silence and with their authentic voice. A French language specialist for over 20 years, Eva has worked with words, meaning, and transmission through freelance and creative work. Based in India for much of her adult life and living in Mysore, she is a mother of 3 and also runs a home decor printing unit, grounding her spiritual work in everyday life and responsibility. Her work is informed by lived experience, somatic healing, sacred expression, and ongoing embodiment practices, including massage and breath to rebirth training. Eva creates spaces where those silenced early in life can feel safe to listen to their body, breath, and inner truth. At the heart of her mission is a desire to serve at both personal and collective levels with a long term vision of creating safe homes for children and especially for pregnant adolescents, while supporting the emergence of leaders who lead from truth, embodiment, and care. So, without any further ado, I know that our listeners and viewers are waiting to have our guest on the platform and listen from her directly. I would like to invite Eva Camarasa on this platform of Vibrations of Vitality Conversations, episode number 6. Welcome, Eva.
Thank you, Dr.Deb. Thank you very much for having me here today. It's
Thank
an
you.
honor to be invited for this podcast.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you so much. So I just want to thank you for taking the time. And like I was mentioning during our conversation before, that I know how busy life gets, running the family, serving the community, and then still taking the time to come here. So it's not only an honor for me, I'm sure that all our viewers and listeners would gain some insights that would be transformative in their lives. So welcome, Eva. And yeah, so shall we get started with our discussion? Are you ready?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it. So, Eva, from your lived experience, we know the importance of this topic, right? You speak about silence as a survival strategy. So, from your lived experience, how and why do human beings learn to go silent, especially early in life? Eva.
That's right. Trauma doesn't wait for adulthood, and sometimes it enters life very early. I just want to mention like a few little stories, give an idea of what I mention when I say the silent wound, what it is all about. So I come from France, and I was 9 years old, and I grew up in a classroom where about 20 of us children stayed together for almost 10 years. So we didn't just study together, but we grew up together. We knew each other's faces, moods, and silences. And there is one of my friends, he lived through something that actually none of us had words for. There was a fight in his home. A hunting gun was taken. His mother stepped in between. She was injured. And his father did not survive. We were children. No one explained anything. But our bodies understood that something irreversible had happened. After that, he became very quiet, not withdrawn, just silent, in a way that felt heavy, contained, older than his age. I have another story. We were 12. He had no father. A mother working in another city. So he lived in a caretaker home. No one to catch him at the end of the day. No one consistently there. He was also very quiet, not because of shock, but because asking felt pointless, needing felt unsafe. As for me, I don't remember choosing silence as a child, but I remember my body choosing it later when I was a teenager. By then, my body already knew what danger felt like. Somehow I had survived something outside my family that had taken my sense of safety. And when harm began to exist inside the family system itself, my body understood something very clearly. There was nowhere safe. So speaking just difficult, it felt impossible. So my voice didn't disappear. It went inward. What I couldn't say lived in my breath, my throat, my chest. My body learned to carry what my voice could not risk holding out loud. So from the outside, I kept functioning. I adapted, moved forward, but inside, my nervous system stayed organized around one quiet rule: staying silent was keeping me safe.
Wow.
So what this story is that silence is rarely a personality trait. Most of the time, it's a nervous system adaptation. Because when expression leads to punishment, rejection, emotional chaos, or the loss of connection, the body learns very quickly that staying quiet preserves safety. And sometimes belonging, sometimes survival. So silence is not the absence of voice, it's just the protection of life force when the environment cannot receive your truth. So this learning doesn't happen through thinking. It happens somatically. What we say somatically, it means in the body.
In the body.
Oh, this is often happening before the language itself can make sense of it.
Right. So, Eva, powerful, right? Like those stories that you shared, how silence develops not as a personality trait, but as a consequence of something that happens during those tender early ages. Those are like really powerful. And oftentimes we can identify, are very quick to judge, right? We human beings, like, oh, that person is an introvert, that person is an extrovert. But sometimes they are not character traits, like you said. It's a way of the adaptation. That's powerful. And when silence is learned as a way to stay safe, like you were mentioning with those stories, and also for you, what does the body and the nervous system begin to hold that the voice cannot express at that time?
Yeah, so when something can't be expressed, it doesn't disappear. It moves into the body. So it means that the nervous system holds what never got to complete, whether that was fear that couldn't run, anger that couldn't be expressed, or grief that had no witness. So the body actually becomes the container. Yeah, so you can feel it in very specific places. So the trauma, the silence is there. It's like an entity. It's like it goes within your system and it goes to those specific places of your body, whether it can be the breath, and your breath can be shallow, or the throat, and it tightens, or the chest, you feel something heavy in your belly, it can get contracted, or your jaw also very tense. So this form of silence, it becomes a form of contentment. The body holds the truth when the voice can't safely carry it. So over time, this holding can become chronic. Not because the body is broken, but because it has been loyal to survival for a very long time.
Wow. So, and very rightly, Eva, that you mentioned that how this nervous system in specific parts of the body, like our breathing exercise, also, I was talking about the shoulders and the belly tightens, right? And the shoulders feels heavy because it's also symbolic. We say that we are carrying many responsibilities on our shoulders. So it's a symbolic way to say. And when the silence is staying in the body, the shoulders get tightened. Some people, the posture gets affected, right?
Correct.
The posture becomes in a certain way, reflecting the emotional state of that being. So you mentioned the kids were 10, 12, even before teenagers, right? Those stories happened, including yourself. You're talking about something. So most people don't consciously remember choosing silence. It just becomes their way of survival, right? How does this survival silence live on subconsciously in adulthood? Even when life looks fine on the surface, but that silence survival continues to live on subconsciously.
That's true. Most people, they don't remember silence because it was not a conscious decision. Like what we mentioned, it was an adaptation.
Mhm.
So in adulthood, this silence doesn't usually show up as being quiet. It shows up as patterns.
Patterns.
Yeah, so it can live in constant self-monitoring, sensing the room before speaking. You're measuring your words, or you can be staying ahead of reaction. So sometimes it can look like competence or like strength. And sometimes when expression has nowhere safe to go, the body finds other ways to cope.
Wow. So that's so powerful what you just said. Sometimes when people are very measuring and they're like, noticing everything in the room before they even utter a word, especially in a new environment, sometimes we feel like that's a strength, but probably that's a reflection of what has been their way of living for long, not as their choice, but as their mode of adaptation. So, not to judge the book by its cover, right? Thank you for pointing out. So, talking about what people do in adulthood, what are some subtle signs that someone is still living from an old survival silence, even if they appear confident, capable, or high functioning outwardly?
So silence can show up as numbing, or sometimes substances, food, control, distraction. For others, it shows up as harshness toward the body itself through restriction, compulsion, or self harm. So these have to be aware that these aren't random or self destructive choices. They are attempts to regulate what was never allowed to before. So even when life looks stable, somebody has a job or good relationships, it seems like a functioning life that looks good from the outside, but the nervous system may still be living by an old rule.
Mhm.
Don't feel too much, don't need much, don't reveal even too much. That's how this survival silence continues, not as a memory, but as a behavior the body uses to stay safe. So, when we are speaking about these subtle signs, we are speaking about patterns that don't disrupt life, but quietly shape it.
So, have you seen that even if those people are willing to feel some emotions, have they told you that, oh, I want to feel that emotion, but I am feeling like somebody is stopping me from inside? Have you seen those kind of things come up in your experience?
Yes, so we see that sometimes just asking for help or even of support can feel very uncomfortable for people and can even feel threatening for the people because they are not used to. Yeah.
Correct. And kudos to you because you are opening your safe space for these people and just invite them, embrace them, saying that, hey, you are safe here. Come and let me know how I can support. So, thank you so much for doing this important work, Eva. So, I just want to dive deep into when the body starts speaking instead, right? We are choosing survival, but the body is starting to speak. So, when the voice is suppressed over time, how does the body begin to speak instead? They might be hunching the body like this, like that. The breath might change. So, how does the body respond? Through tension, breath, emotion, or disconnection from others? What would you say, Eva?
Yeah, so when the voice stays quiet or suppressed for a long time, the body doesn't stop communicating. Actually, it finds another language or it changes language. because what couldn't be expressed through words, it begins to show up through sensation. And that is very important to understand that sensation through the tension that cannot get released, through the breath that stays and is shallow or it's held back, or through the body also that always in a little bit on alert mode. So for some people, the body speaks through tightness, and as we said, in the throat, chest, the jaw, the belly. For others, it shows up as emotional waves, that
Emotional
feels
waves, okay?
that feels sudden or out of proportion sometimes because they are carrying more than the present moment. So sometimes the body speaks through disconnection, a sense of not fully being. You're moving through life slightly detached, as part of yourself is step back to stay safe. So you are not completely here.
Missing the present moment means missing life, because life is nothing but present moments, right?
Yeah.
So, Eva, you work deeply with voice, breath, somatic expression. And as we read in your bio, you are a massage therapist also, right? Right. So, why are gentle, embodied forms of expression often safer and more effective than, say, talking it out?
Yeah. So the first thing is, talking alone often happens faster than the nervous system can follow. So there is disconnection. You talk things, but your nervous system is not yet there. It responds to a pace, a tone, and a sensation again.
Right.
So if we go straight into talking, especially about painful experiences, the body can feel exposed again.
Yes.
One more time, it can tighten, disconnect, go into that story without actually releasing anything. It triggers it, and the body and your nervous system is living it again. Yeah. So, however, these gentle body forms of expression, they work differently because they don't ask the body to remember or explain. They just ask it to feel just enough to stay present.
Correct.
To connect to this moment here. So we do this through breath, through sound, through simple movement. And this helps to meet the nervous system where it already speaks.
So, Eva, many people fear expression because it once felt unsafe, right? That in a very early age, once they felt talking was unsafe or it became a mode of adaptation. So, what helps the nervous system relearn that expression can now happen without danger? Those things are gone. Now they can express. What actually helps the nervous system?
Yeah, in my opinion, what helps first is consistency. What I see as a consistency, knowing what to expect, knowing there's no sudden demand to open or explain, being able to stop or being able to say no, being able to stay silent if that's what feels safest in this moment. So choice is essential. And safety also comes from pace, going slow enough that the body can stay present, not pushing towards extra release or just allowing the expression that comes, that emerges in its own time. And also, what is important is to start being witnessed without being fixed, without interruption, without urgency. When expression is met with presence instead of reaction, then your nervous system begins to register something new. So, over time, these small and safe experiences, they accumulate, and the body slowly updates this map. Not all at once, but gently. So learning that expression no longer equals danger, but it equals safety. And this is where the rewiring is happening.
It's okay just to embrace whatever is coming up, surfacing. In your bio, we talked about you have a specific method called Phoenix voice method that you use. Maybe just one example, maybe from your work, what shifts internally when someone begins to express again, not to perform, but to tell the truth of their body?
So, one of the first shifts that is often sensed when we do the work is a sense of relief. It's not emotional release just, but physical relief. So the body starts softening a little, and your breath, you're becoming more conscious about your breath, the movement of your breath. It becomes less of an effort for you to involve in simply being present. And then clarity starts to emerge, not in the mind, but again in the body. So people start to sense what's true for them without needing to analyze or justify it. Self-trust begins to return in very small ways as they notice when something feels right or wrong. And they may stop overriding themselves as much. Also, what is important to notice a change in how the energy moves.
Energy moves.
It doesn't just come back with intensity, it just comes back more as steadiness, as a feeling of being more here, more life. And importantly, expression stops being about being seen. It just becomes about being aligned, about letting the body speak. So it no longer has to carry everything alone. Not about becoming louder or more confident, becoming more real. And that's where the sense of aliveness begins.
More about being real, and the sense of aliveness will start shifting. So Eva, maybe in very briefly, I know it's a large topic, but for your particular method, like the Phoenix voice method, would you like to give our listeners and viewers an idea, like how exactly you approach this to bring them back to this presence?
So the Phoenix voice method is a 7-pillar method where we go through a specific journey about becoming more aware about this silent wound and allowing this awareness and identifying also how now this silence has been inhabited within your body. So that awareness stage is there, and then we will start releasing through certain form of expression, which can be art form, through the sound, movement of the body, because the body contains all that, so it needs to release it. So we release it through movement, and we implement a daily habit of aligning the breath. We are able to put a little bit more balance within the body. And as you know, each and everything that has been accumulated is like layers of things. So to remove those layers, it takes time. So that implementation of breath is very important for each and everyone. So that's where we are taking people the space within to take that moment, because when they create the space, they are creating a safe container for them and they are into that environment. So we are guiding them towards those kind of habits and giving them a few tools for them to be able to release all the suppressed emotions.
Wow. Wow, so wonderful. What I understood is that 7-pillar journey, going through the pillars, it's foundations of your method, where first you identify, make people aware what they're going through, what is there inside, the deep-rooted ones especially. Then you have techniques to release them. And the final stage is to embody and embrace their new self, right? So I want to say our listeners and viewers, this is so powerful. You can hear, you can already understand. And if you are thinking that how can you learn more, just hold on, stay tuned. I will ask Eva if she wants to share something, how people can connect. So please stay tuned. We have a little bit of discussion left here. And I hope, Eva, the powerful discussion that you are pointing our viewers and listeners to, I hope we can continue forever. But because of our time, we will just have another couple discussion points. The last part, I would like to have this discussion regarding returning to voice, presence, and vitality. As you are mentioning, how is it important to return to this present moment, right? So as people reclaim their voice gently and safely, say going through your method, slowly and gradually, what changes first in their sense of vitality, like their prana, right?
Yes.
Self-trust, or just simply the way of relating to life? What shifts have you experienced, either in yourself or in your community members?
Yeah. So what usually changes first is not how people speak, but how they relate to themselves. So there is a quiet return of self-trust. People will begin to listen to their own signals instead of overriding them. They pause before saying yes, and they notice when something doesn't feel right, and they respect it. So the vitality, the prana returns slowly and steadily. Again, not as a rush of energy, but as a sense of being more present in the body. People may have experienced not being able to rest because when you are under tension, then you may experience nightmares.
So basically, you are talking about how people become, what shifts in them is how they become more attuned to things which otherwise very commonly people might just ignore without even realizing it. So they become more attuned to those subtle features which actually build up as tension, build up as nervous systems, micro stressors, right?
Yeah.
So they become more attuned and more seasoned in identifying those and act accordingly, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely
Wow.
this. Yes,
Wow.
you bring more
Thank
attention to the subtle changes within yourself.
more attention to subtle changes within oneself and being in the present moment. And thus,
That's
so for someone listening who recognizes themselves in this survival silence, but feels unsure where to begin, because that can be, for some, it can be a complex journey or maybe an impossible journey, they might feel. So, what is one gentle understanding or invitation you would leave them with today, Eva, if you have to share one thing?
I want them to know that nothing about their silence means that they failed or missed something, because silence was not a mistake. It was a response to what their body needed in order to survive. So the place to begin isn't with fixing or forcing expression, it's with recognizing that the body has been protecting them for a long time. Again, you don't need to become louder. You don't need to know what comes next. The invitation is simply to move at the speed of safety, to notice where your body already feels a little more space, a little more breath, and start there. Because the voice doesn't return through pressure, it returns through permission. And when the body feels safe enough, it already knows how to speak.
Wow. It returns not through pressure, but through permission. So, that permission, I think, first permission comes from no one else but from oneself,
Yeah,
right?
that's right.
That it's okay if you are allowing yourself to give yourself a little more breather there, a little more space there to
Yeah.
experience whatever you are trying to experience or willing to experience, but feeling like held back from your past memories or things like past experiences like that. It's okay to let go of that now.
Yeah.
It's okay to start steering the car into a direction which is more uplifting and more beneficial for yourself and for everybody else around you. Wow. Thank you, Eva. These pointers were powerful, and I'm sure our listeners and viewers, including, of course, myself, we were like, our eyes were open to some things which otherwise would not have been opened if we are not listening from someone who has actually lived that and who is actually now working with people who are going through the same. Thank you so much. So, if anybody who is listening to this video later on, and if they want to connect to you, what is the way that they can contact you?
Yeah, so we are there under the name Soul Speak Truth in Instagram. And
Okay.
on YouTube, we are there on Soul Speak Truth _777.
Okay, so Soul Speak Truth in and Soul Speak Truth _777 in YouTube. I will be then sharing your profile links in our description and our pinned comment for people to find you easily. Is that okay?
And the website is coming up very soon. So
Okay.
yeah.
Wonderful. So Eva, for your work, are you mostly doing it in a virtual platform now, whoever wants to connect? Or you also have the option of people connecting with you in person?
So offline, we are serving here the people in Mysore.
Mysore.
And we are going to start to have our own space. It should happen very soon.
In Mysore, right?
Yeah, in Mysore. So we will be conducting online and offline, starting to develop that center, because we want slowly, as the people are going to come in, understand what we are doing, people will start bringing their own voice, and we will make the movement happening, and we will be able to have other centers in other cities. That's the objective, yeah.
Wonderful. And thank you for doing it in India where people need it. Thank you so much for serving the people here. And of course, anybody can come, but I, being from this land, I'm very grateful to you. And Eva, how long have you been here in India? Like you mentioned in your bio, for most of your early life. So has it been like 2-3 decades already?
Yeah, yeah. I landed in India in 2002.
Thank you so much. And Eva, I, from the Vitality Wisdom Hub, because of your time, have some small token of appreciations that I will share with you after this episode. But once again, thank you so much for joining and sharing your wisdom and allowing us to hear what needs to be heard, especially at this age of disconnection, separation, and what can I say? So thank you for your important work. Also, Eva, thank you, because this conversation reminds us that silence was never a failure. As you mentioned, it was only a form of care at that point of time when that happened. And that care can now include voice. So thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.Deb, for having me on this podcast and for giving me the opportunity to express what I am putting up here. It is much, much appreciated that you have given me that time to do this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Eva. Thank you.
And
Namaste.
namaste.